Last time we went GNCC racing on OLN, Loretta Lynn's Ranch hosted Grand National Cross Country action, and the Killer Bees of Balance and Borage battled all day, with Chris Jenks playing the spoiler role and actually leading the race. But when the mud finally stopped flying and all the hills would climb, it was Bill Balance taking another win. Can he do it again?
Welcome to Racer TV. I'm your host, Rachel Ayers.
And I'm Rodney Smith, 5-time GNCC champion. And welcome to the Showtime GNCC.
Today we're in Seymour, Missouri, just minutes away from Branson, Missouri, the show capital of the Midwest. Looks like it's going to be a great day of racing, Rodney.
Yes, Rachel, we're here on a brand new park. It's 1,000 acres of off-road riding. It's brutal, it's rough, the rain's falling, it's going to be a great show.
Well, I'm excited. Let's head down and get a better look at the start.
All right, thanks Rachel and Rodney. Jason Wagon up here in the tower, and I'll tell you what, we'll get to the start in a moment, but we want to take a look at the racetrack through the eyes of the Scott USA Helmet Cam, and exactly what Rodney Smith said, it is brutal out here. It's just unrelenting. The rocks never end. There's water everywhere as we cross through some of the streams, and of course, they're deeper than ever because of the rain we took on. It's a virgin terrain here as well. These arrowed sections will eventually be carved into the racetrack. But for now, as we take it on our RM250 Suzuki through our Scott Helmet Cam, well, you can see just how tight and twisting this forest is. It's going to be a very, very tough race today, and the riders that excel in technical terrain are going to do well. Of course, speed never hurts also, and there will be some wide open sections. And let's look at some of the fastest guys out here. Right now, our points leader is Chris Borage, number 2 in the series last year. So far, so good, though. He's been consistent, and he's managing to hold off this man, Bill Balance, our 6-time and defending GNCC champ on the factory Yamaha. And Bill is closing in points on Borage after his win last week in Tennessee. Here's William Yoakley, one of the most popular riders on the tour on the factory LTR 450 Suzuki. He's 3rd. And 4th in points, Chris Jenks. And Jenks, remember, led the majority of the race last time we were out racing in Tennessee. So he's got a little bit of confidence now, and we'll see if that pays off here in Missouri. Rain coming down on our official starter, Ricky Towery, and that means it's coming down on our racers too. But we race rain or shine. It is showtime for GNCC Racing, and here we go. Into the first turn, rounding around the outside, and look at this. These guys are going to be absolutely covered. Looks like Matt Smiley getting out front early on the Polaris. Did he get himself the ITP Hole Shot Award? They're just battling, banging tires, plastic bumpers, everything through this very, very slick first corner. And there is Matt Smiley getting into the lead and grabbing the ITP Hole Shot Award. But immediately Jenks able to seize the number 1 position as we work our way into the woods. And look at how rough this terrain is already. There's Smiley there into the number 2 spot. Man, it's going to be hard to tell who's who. Adam McGill coming by in 3rd. There's Balance on the Yamaha. Looking for Borage. Remember, that is the points race. And how many times have we seen these muddy races throw a complete wrench in the point standings for these top riders, especially Balance and Borage, who have been battling for the title the last 2 years. And it is going to be a muddy day today, make no doubt about it. Look at these guys in the back getting covered. Yoakley going by now. The goggles have got to be absolutely filled, and they're just pulling the roll-offs and the tear-offs. It's going to be a long, long day as the rain comes down here in Missouri. Here is Chris Jenks, though, out front. Now familiar turf. Let's talk to him.
Today's race, I anticipate it's going to be a lot like the rest of them you've seen this year. Probably going to be a lead pack of us breakaway. I don't know who it's going to be. Anybody's able to do this, get up front and in the pro class. It's usually there's a group of 5 or 6 of us, maybe more. I'd say we're going to get away from some people and have a heck of a race there at the end. Hopefully I'll be on top.
Well, that's what Jenks wants, and right now he is on top, but look at the rain coming down, and it's wreaking havoc on this racetrack. And you see, he's fairly clean, no roost when you're out front, and McGill here in 2nd is pretty clean as well. As a matter of fact, you think the rain is kind of like a drive-through car wash right now. Brandon Balance in the number 3 spot. And here's Red Butler, a youngster out of Missouri, actually, so he's taking advantage of his knowledge of the local terrain. Borage has now gotten in front. I don't know where Bill Balance is. Borage is now in front of him. Here's Balance. That's probably about 7th place, so that is your points leaders right there struggling through this terrain. Dwayne Johnson, another Missouri rider, and Yoakley there just inside the top 10. But here it is now. Well, it's like Adam McGill leading this pack around. I think we might have missed Jenks through this section. There's Brandon Balance behind him as we try to figure out who is who. These guys are absolutely covered because the rain and the mud is flying today. And in addition, it's the first time we've ever raced GNCC here at the Southern Missouri Off-Road Ranch. So what that means is These are completely unfamiliar trails to these riders. There's no practice, no pre-running. You can walk the track, you can mountain bike it. The only time you're going to hit it on an ATV is when you're racing. So all these guys are learning this terrain as we go. There's Johnny Gallagher, a mud specialist. He's got to like his chances today. Lots more racing. Stay with us. Welcome back, Racer TV, brought to you by Suzuki, ITP, Rocky Mountain, Moose, Yamaha, and Polaris. And this is our Suzuki special test. Some deep water through here. Adam McGill, oh, and he just got past. Chris Jenks, a handful of throttle, gets by him in the Suzuki special test. And you see it's very important to pick good lines for that deep water. Brandon Balance trying to keep up with these guys in the number 3 spot. Let's take a look at the pass again. And just a better line, staying all the way in the bank and almost hydroplaning across with a big handful of throttle. And that allows Chris Jenks to take the lead from Adam McGill. These guys want to be out front today. You do not want to be catching all that mud, that water, that roost. A lot of these guys fading toward that outside line that McGill used. So Jenks, the only one to figure out the fast way through that section. There's Balance in the blue ATV. There's Dwayne Johnson from Missouri right behind him. And that's one of the Team Excel Motorsports riders trying to come through as well, fighting. Well, I can't tell who's who out here, but look at how nasty this racetrack is. You take mud and rocks, it is very, very slippery trying to get up these steep hill climbs. There is Yoakley coming through now. He got through the car wash. And there is Boric. Now Boric back in the pack. So Balance and Boric have been trading positions, although much further back than they want to be. There is Gallagher on the number 17 GT Thunder Honda, and he makes his way up to the top of that big hill climb. But here is Jenks, also on a GT Thunder ride, and man, he is plowing his way through the brush. Now McGill is a rookie in the pro class, and he has got to be upset, has not had the results that some of his other rookies have turned in this year. So this is a big confidence-boosting ride for him. Now Bill Balance has worked his way into third, so you see positions changing all day long. And Dwayne Johnson is trying to stay with him. There is Cook in the Team Excel Motorsports machine. Brandon Balance, Brent Sturdivant 7th. And Rhett Butler, the youngster, right out of the Show Me State in the number 8 position. So he's got to be feeling good today. Jenks now into the GT Thunder pits. Will he stop? Does he need goggles? I guess not. That's impressive. These guys have been able to put this kind of time in and have enough tear-offs left on the goggles to keep on going. Now here's Balance. He points to the gas. He's going to, I guess, need some gas. No, he's pointing to the handlebars. They've actually going to clean the handlebars off. He's covered with so much mud. Probably knew some. What are they doing to Bill Balance's machine? He's pointing to something in the front end. And they put their hands up. They don't know what the problem is. And I'll tell you, man, that's what happens in these mud races. It can wreak havoc. Balance is going to go out without repairs and just try to dial it in. Yoakley coming through. He wants a fresh set of Scott goggles as well. And now we see Borch's pit right behind him. So the riders who are up front in the points are not up front on the racetrack. So this is really going to wreak havoc on our series today. And that's what happens in these muddy races. Borch stopping for fresh goggles, fresh gloves, and they're taking their time through there. Now that is the difference when you're battling for a championship. Borch, Balance, those boys, they'll just settle for third place today and get to the podium and try to avert disaster. If you're Chris Jenks, though, and you're out front, he could not care less about points. He wants to win today. And you see the technique, they're just sliding that thing through the finish line at the end of lap 1. And there's McGill right behind him. McGill, the same thing, not worried about points. He wants to go after a podium and a win. There's Brandon Balance coming by there in third. So Brandon has been solid today. He's always pretty good when it's muddy. And now we also see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson coming through in fourth. So as we continue to re-rack the playing field here, those that are, what the heck is that? That's a whole bunch of tear-offs, roll-offs coming off those goggles. Boy, these guys are having just as much trouble keeping track of this as we are. They can barely see, and so can we. Let's go to our Motorsport Outlet Hot Product of the Week.
Hi, I'm Josh Upperman with Team Motorsport Honda. This week's Motorsport Hot Product of the Week features the Alloy Armor Light. The Alloy Armor Light is a lightweight, breathable under jersey protector. Armor Light was designed for riders who don't want any restrictions when they ride. Comfortable and cool, and fits like a second skin, and also great for roost when you're out on the track. And right now at motorsport.com you can find the Alloy Armor Light under jersey protector and all alloy gear at unbelievable blowout prices. And that's this week's Motorsport Hot Product of the Week.
Welcome back. It's Racer TV, brought to you by Suzuki, ITP, Rocky Mountain, Moose, Yamaha, and Polaris. Chris Jenks pouring it on out front, and look at that. Just absolutely wide open at the bottom of that hill climb, and that's what it takes. The more momentum you have at the bottom, the more speed you have at the top. Adam McGill motioning toward our cameraman here on the Outdoor Life Network, and he's able to climb his way to the top despite the slower rider in front of him. And now you see other riders starting to pile up. For these pro riders like Brandon Balance and Bill Balance, they can get to the top of this hill no problem. The other guys, well, they're just waiting in line and waiting to try to attack this thing and figure out how it's done. Here's Boric, who has managed to work his way back into fourth after some problems earlier in the race. And Dwayne Johnson has been there all day long, really all season long. This guy is a rookie in the pro class, and he has been on fire and very, very solid. We call him the Rock. Now here we go back into the Suzuki special test, and how about Chris Jenks makes the pass through one area of that special test, and now that he's in the lead, he goes through the other section, so maybe he learned something. The rest of these guys are lap riders, and you got to give them credit. We do have amateurs out here, over 500 ATV riders out here today, and we have a class for everyone. This is not just professional racing. If you got an ATV and you want to go try this, just hit GNCCRacing.com and get all the information, because we have courses and tracks and classes that are designed for the everyman. Working his way through, I think that is Boric there. Yeah, you see the familiar Chris Boric Iron Cross bumper. So Boric has worked his way into podium position, and as he looks back over his shoulder, he's got to be encouraged. Problems earlier in the race, but right now he's got the opportunity to make up points on Bill Balance, and that is what the goal was today in a muddy race. Don't lose piles of points like happened to Boric last year. Back into the GT Thunder pits comes Chris Jenks. He's got some gas. He's getting new gloves. And you see very relaxed atmosphere there. No alarm. He's got a big lead. And you don't want to rush things in the mud. When you're putting new goggles on or putting new gloves on, you want to make sure you get those things on comfortably. Because I'll tell you what, in a day like today, if anything is uncomfortable, it is really going to weigh on your mind. It becomes a distraction. And that's what leads to mistakes. Boric in the pits for the second time now. Same thing. East Coast ATV Honda team, they're just taking their time through there, and another set of fresh Moose gloves and Scott goggles for Chris Boric. Looks over his shoulder, and they're encouraged, and this is the change we're seeing in Chris Boric. Last year we had muddy races, a disaster for Chris Boric, but this year he is able to stay up front and try to maintain that points lead. Now, McGill has been up and down all day. You see one Barkbuster, handguard, has been knocked down on that machine. He has taken a tumble, but he is still in third. Jenks pouring it on out front. And speaking of pouring, the rain is coming down. We're going to take a break for the Rocky Mountain tip of the week.
Let's start with this double storage bay from Ryder Cargo. Has two large bays where you can place helmets, shoes, boots, or anything else you'd like to strap down with bungees and get them up off the floor out of the way. This item from Ryder Cargo is a spark plug dispenser. Makes it very convenient. Have your spark plugs right there ready to go. Pull them out, throw them in your bike. Have you ever been searching through all the drawers and all the closets in your trailer while it's dark, looking for a flashlight? Ryder Cargo has the answer. Conveniently locate this next to the entry door, and your flashlight is right there, and you can find whatever you need. The last item from Ryder Cargo is this workstation. Conveniently holds up to 6 quarts of oil in the top here, with a nice little workspace here. Put nuts and bolts, whatever you may be working on. These and other fine products available exclusively at RockyMountainATVMC.com.
All right, thanks, Travis. Back to GNCC Racing here on OLN, part of Racer TV. Chris Boric fighting his way through, and now, of course, not only muddy, but it has gotten rough. These guys are digging it out. You see the suspension working on these ATVs. It is absolutely key to have the shock set up perfectly. They're all running about a foot of wheel travel here, which is good, but it's got to be quality wheel travel. And the more experienced riders sometimes a little better at setting the machines up, especially for new tracks like today, where they have never run on before. And here's the pack coming through. Trying to figure out who that is. That might be Bill Boughton. No, actually, that's an old school. That's a Honda 250R working its way toward us. You hear the two-stroke engine. Rest of these guys trying to come through. We do have our scroll at the bottom. Brandon Balance in 10th. I can tell you that much. Thanks to our scoring team, keeping us on top of who's out front. Now, here is Boric do this special test again. I like this section because, well, it cleans the machines off, and I can figure out who it is. And that is indeed Boric coming through. He looks over his shoulder through that section every time. It's almost like Boric doesn't expect to be doing this well in the muddy conditions, but he is indeed running with the leaders. Now, the rest of these guys getting a bat through here. You see some riders running duct tape, trying to keep the mud out of the radiators of these machines. Let's see if we can pick up. I think that was McGill coming through. Some of the riders actually cheering, and they're cheering on Dwayne Johnson. Remember, he is from Missouri, so he is a native son to this area, and they would love to see him get his first podium today. Yoakley has worked his way toward the front of the pack on that new Suzuki. He's riding really well. Here's another rider out of, I believe, one of the A classes. That is an expert level rider working his way toward the pros. And, of course, the ultimate dangling carrot of the pro class is Bill Balance right here in the number 1. He has had his trouble today, and Balance is trying to stay inside the top 5 and keep Borich inside of the points. We've got to take another commercial break. We'll be back with more GNCC. Welcome back. It's Racer TV, brought to you by Suzuki, ITP, Rocky Mountain Moose, Yamaha, and Polaris. Through pit road again here in Missouri. Chris Jenks pulling in one last time. Fresh goggles. And he's ready to go. Chris Jenks has really come into his own. Actually, last year was very, very strong. This year, better than ever. Let's talk to his father.
He's usually pretty strong in the mud. That's what he really cut his teeth on, and he has done real good in the mud. He don't like the mud, but he's hanging in there tough today.
That's what it's all about. Nobody likes riding in these conditions, but some riders do better in it than others. Now, Borich, as mentioned, was never a mud specialist, but he's in the pits right now, safe in second place today. So he's got to be very, very happy with this. They wipe the top of the helmet off. He can get 10 pounds of mud built up on the top of the helmet alone. So he's all cleaned up. He's got fresh Scott goggles, and he's back out on the racetrack. Now, how about Brent Sturdivant running in the number 3 position? And maybe all that duct tape on the front has paid off for Sturdivant. McGill is into the pits. He screams for goggles. He's got the hookup. McGill wants that first podium bad. We mentioned a couple other rookies. Chris Bintle, for one, has been on the podium earlier this year, and McGill wants to get some of that glory for himself. We just found one of the most gnarly sections of this racetrack, a creek crossing. Then they're going to work their way uphill and then stop. That's a checkpoint. There are a couple of checkpoints positioned around the course to make sure the riders stay on track. And you know what? The riders at this point in the race probably like the checkpoint because it's an opportunity to rest. Here is Borich working his way down that hill climb. Looks like there's gold in them hills at the bottom there, but he doesn't care about that. The gold comes if you get to the podium and score some points and win the title this year, and that's what he is focused on today, getting points, maintaining his points lead over Balance. The rest of these guys working their way to the bottom of the hill. I believe that's McGill right there. No, it's a rider on the Alba team, so it's hard to figure out who is who. Well, heck, that's been my mantra all day long as these riders work their way down this staircase and into the checkpoint. I think that's Gallagher coming through for another check. Iron Cross bumper flying. That is Borich. I don't know what he's looking at. He must like to watch the other riders go through that section. I believe he's actually got Sturdivant right behind him, so now he's got an eyeful of competition, and that is overall competition. So Borich needs to pick it up. A little mistake there from Sturdivant spinning some tires on the top of that hill, the Suzuki Special Test. Other riders trying to make their way through deep water here. You hear the engines cutting out. They do take some water into the airbox, and I'll tell you what, you can ruin an engine if you go through these sections too quickly. If you take in any sand or water into the motor, oh, that's Adam McGill. You know for sure. He just took the feet off the pace for the cameras. He is always hamming it up for us. So McGill is in the hunt late, but the checkered flag is coming out, and Chris Jenks continues to hold the lead as he has all day. And there it is. Chris Jenks has taken his first win of the year here in Missouri, the Show Me State. He had something to show, and Chris Jenks held on all day today. And that's going to be a tremendous boost of confidence for that young man. And Chris Borich, well, he's got to feel good about his performance in the slop today, taking the number 2 position. And Adam McGill taking 3rd place. They call him Kurt. And Kurt, well, he was on time. He made his way to the finish line in the number 3 spot. He has got to be happy about that.
Chris Jenks, what a race, man. A good one. You led this one pretty much the whole way.
Yeah, I got a pretty good hole shot. Got behind just a hair, got back to 3rd. Was having trouble seeing stuff, so tried to put a couple moves on it was Kurt McGill and Bill Balance. Got around those guys and set a good pace and stayed out of trouble for most of the day, so really it wasn't that bad. The rocks here held up for the most part. Up in the field got kind of rutted out, but other than just trying to see where he was going, that was the biggest challenge today, just trying to keep the goggles clean, so wasn't that bad.
Speaking of seeing, we noticed whenever you came across the line at the finish line, they were actually having to wash the mud out of your eyes.
Yeah, I got behind a couple of lappers, maybe a mile back. I didn't want to lose. I knew where I was at, but I didn't know how big of a lead I had. I didn't want to let off them guys too much, and I pushed a little bit harder than what I should have. I got up on them kind of close and got my eyes filled full of mud, and that made it tough. But ended up finishing. They got me cleaned up, and it's all good to go.
Congratulations, and we'll see you up here again soon.
Oh yeah, I'll be up here.
Yeah, I tried to, not let the nerves bother me so much, try to relax a little bit, have a little fun with it. Everybody seems a little bit uptight, I think it should be kind of like a basketball game. Everybody should get into it. You take a pass on somebody ought to be into it. So I try to bring that to the race with me and try not to let it bother me a whole lot.
Well, it didn't bother him too much. Through the mud, McGill, Boric, and Jenks end up our top three, and Bill Balance salvaged something today, ending up at the number 4 position. So not too many points made up by Boric, but he's got to be happy about that. Congratulations to the rest of these guys. A couple of the amateur riders getting into the top 20 overall today. And I'll tell you what, they're all hoping for better weather conditions the next time we go GNCC racing. And congratulations to Chris Jenks of the GT Thunder Honda team, taking his first win of the 2006 season. Join us in OLN. For Rodney Smith and Rachel Ayers, I'm Jason Wygant. Thanks for watching.
The Grand National Cross Country Championship is sanctioned by the American Motorcyclist Association. Rights, Riding, Racing. AMA. Join now. Call 1-800-AMA-JOIN.